At this hour, the future of our Homeland Security Secretary appears to be up in the air. Good evening, I'm John Scott, and you're watching the Fox Report. Kirstjen Nielsen is meeting with President Trump right now amid growing speculation she might resign. This comes as the president threatens to close the southern border if Mexico cannot get tough on security. Let's go to Ellison Barber, who is live at the White House. What are you hearing tonight about the Homeland Security Secretary, Ellison?
Hi, John. So we're watching closely what we call the fence cam, where you can oftentimes see who is coming in and out of the White House for these sorts of meetings. So far, the Department of Homeland Security has not responded to our request for comment about whether or not the secretary is here and whether or not they expect her to resign. Fox News' chief White House correspondent, John Roberts, is hearing that these discussions are going on now and that Nielsen's future is being decided right now. Nielsen was sworn in as DHS Secretary in December of 2017. She replaced her old boss, General John Kelly, who moved from DHS to the White House to serve as President Trump's chief of staff. Before becoming Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Nielsen was chief of staff to then Secretary John Kelly. She worked for the Bush administration as a special assistant to the president on the White House Homeland Security Council back in 2004. There have long been rumors about Secretary Nielsen's future, her future as Secretary of Homeland Security. In May of 2018, President Trump reportedly screamed at Nielsen during a cabinet meeting, berating Nielsen for failing to secure the border and, in the president's view, not being tough on illegal immigration. Then in the fall of 2018, around the month of November, there were reports that the president planned to remove Nielsen from her position. The Washington Post actually reported that he had canceled a trip with her to the southern border and told aides that President Trump told his aides that he wanted Nielsen out of office as soon as possible because he was frustrated with her lackluster performance on immigration enforcement. Of course, that did not happen. She stayed in the job, but in the fall of 2018, Fox's Chris Wallace asked President Trump about Nielsen's futures, those rumors. Here's what President Trump had to say at the time.
Well, I like her a lot. I respect her a lot. She's very smart. I want her to get much tougher, and we'll see what happens there. But I want to be extremely tough. There's a chance, but there's a chance everybody. I mean, that's what happens in government. You leave, you make a name, you go. The people that have left have done very well. The people that have left have done very well from my White House.
In July.
I like her very much. I respect her very much. I'd like her to be much tougher on the border, much tougher, period.
A number of Democratic lawmakers called for Secretary Nielsen to resign at the height of the administration's so-called zero-tolerance policy when they were separating children from their parents at the southern border. For right now, John, it is a wait-and-see game. We are hearing that the secretary is in the White House right now, and we are working on getting more information. We'll keep you updated when we get anything else.
Ellison Barber there at the White House. Ellison, thank you. Let's check in now with our chief White House correspondent, John Roberts. He's joining us by phone. John, what are you hearing about the future of the Homeland Security Secretary?
John, just a couple of days after meeting with the president on the border in Calexico, California, Kirstjen Nielsen has resigned as Secretary of DHS. He is going to be replaced by Kevin McAleenan, who is the head of Customs and Border Protection. I first got some calls from people inside DHS sort of the middle of last week, saying we hear that Kirstjen Nielsen is going to go. I actually talked to the secretary herself midweek, and she said that she did not have any intention of going, but the president making it official just moments ago that she will be resigning and that Kevin McAleenan will be taking her place. McAleenan certainly does have a lot of respect in Customs and Border Protection. He is seen as a good manager. He is seen as somebody who has a really, really good handle on the situation at the border. We're not sure at this point why Secretary Nielsen has decided to resign, though, she was under a lot of pressure last year. And after the confrontation at the border with that caravan that was coming up from Central America at the San Ysidro crossing, where they really did draw a line there, and they wouldn't allow the migrants to cross over, and there was even some tear gas that was used. Her handling of that situation found a lot of favor with President Trump, and her job went from really being very tenuous. She did appear to, prior to that, be hanging on by a thread to the president really appreciating everything that she had been doing to try to secure the border. I mean, being the Secretary of DHS is a tremendously difficult job. To a large degree, it's a thankless job as well. I spoke with her midweek personally, and she assured me that she wasn't about to resign, but clearly either something happened between then and now, or she was thinking about it. She just didn't want to tip her hand. But again, Kirstjen Nielsen, the Secretary of Homeland Security, resigning. Kevin McAleenan, who is the head of Customs and Border Protection, will be taking her place immediately, John.
She was also close to John Kelly, her predecessor in that job, who then moved to become White House Chief of Staff. I think a lot of people assumed that when he left the White House that she would not be far behind.
Yeah, and that was the thinking initially, late last year, that it was probably going to be a twofer, that if Kelly left, she would go, that her future was indelibly tied to his, because she had been his chief of staff over at DHS, and then she became his chief of staff at the White House when he was the chief of staff to the president, and then she went on to take the DHS job. So it really did look like if Kelly was going to leave, she was going to leave too, but she hung in there. And I had several conversations with her about that, and she said that she felt a real duty to try to protect the border to the best of her ability, to protect the homeland to the best of her ability, because, of course, being DHS secretary is not just looking after the border problem, it's looking after any and all threats against the United States. But I guess that the time just came for her to move on. It has really been a tough time for her, just in terms of the sheer amount of work that she has had to do. I know she's been working 24/7 ever since she took the job. So we don't yet have the exact reason, John, why she's leaving, but clearly she felt that it was time. I had heard that the president wasn't looking for her to resign. Now, maybe he was, and we just haven't heard that yet. But he did seem to, in recent months at least, be very happy with the job that she had been doing.
The president now appears to be confirming, John, the news that you just broke a moment ago, tweeting this, that the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kirstjen Nielsen, will be leaving her position, and I would like to thank her for her service. I am pleased to announce Kevin McAleenan, the current U.S. Customs and Border Protection Commissioner, will become acting secretary for DHS. I have confidence that Kevin will do a great job. So those two tweets just out from the president confirming what you just reported.